Hello and welcome to Thursday's English lesson. So here we have our word of the day, landscape. All the visible features of an area of land. Today we're actually going to be thinking about the audible features of an area of land, so the thing, what we could hear as the bird. Looking at our punctuation and grammar today, we're looking at a question that we found a bit tricky last term in the test. So we are going to be adding punctuation to the sentence below to show that it contains direct speech. Have a go for me and then I'll talk you through it. So pause, rewrite the sentence for me with the correct punctuation in, and then I'll talk you through it. Okay, so here we go. Everybody was pretty good at knowing that we needed inverted commas to show that the person started talking, and inverted commas to show that they had finished speaking, because of course mum isn't going to say mum said, is she? The bit that people found a bit tricky was a lot of people put a full stop here. But actually our sentence hasn't finished because, can you see we've got our full stop at the end here, mum said. We've still got that to come, which means that we need a different piece of punctuation. Now if mum was shouting, we could use an exclamation mark. If she was asking a question like, are we going to see your cousins this weekend? Then we could use a question mark, but she's doing neither of those things. So what we're going to use is a comma. Now notice also that my comma is in front of my inverted commas. We did talk about that last term when we covered direct speech. You need to have your final punctuation before your inverted commas. Okay, have a go at this one for me. So add punctuation to the sentence below to show that it contains direct speech. If you promise to plant them, I'll let go, the old lady said. So if you've forgotten what to do, just rewind and watch me talk through the last one again, and then do exactly the same with this. So pause and have a go. Okay, I'm going to talk you through this one, hopefully. It's being awkward for me. Okay, here we go. So again, we've got the start of the speech here. If you promise to plant them, I'll let go, the old lady said. Well, she's not going to say the old lady said. So we're going to put our inverted commas here. If you promise to plant them, I'll let go. Now it says said here. She's not shouting. We don't need an exclamation mark. Is she asking a question? No, she isn't. So we need a comma. And again, it goes right next to this word and the inverted commas are after it. Okay. So our learning objective today. As a writer, can I engage my reader using a variety of vocabulary? We will be using bronze expanded noun phrases as yesterday and similes, silver expanded noun phrases, similes and personification, gold expanded noun phrases, similes, personification and metaphors. Okay, so I'm going to play you an audio of a city landscape. I'm going to go between a couple of different videos, so bear with me while I do that. As you listen, I'd like you to note down what you hear and how you would describe it. You may also want to add in sounds that you think you might hear. So I'm going to stop this share. Listen to this one. Okay. So just going to go back to my PowerPoint. Right, so hopefully you managed to write down lots of things that you heard while that was playing. Here were some of the things that I heard. So we had cars, loud, honking, rushing. So these are my words to describe them. Sirens, whirring, blasting. Trains, zooming, rumbling, screeching. Bikes, bells ringing. Birds, a little bit maybe in the background, tweeting, calling, singing. You may have got other things. I heard people talking in one of them as well. I didn't put that in, but you could do. Remember, we are the bird, and this is what we can see, but mainly what we can hear as we're looking down and listening to the city landscape. Okay, so let's add in some adjectives to describe. Let me just move this up out of the way a bit, hopefully. To describe them. So cars, loud, honking, rushing. So we can describe them as being impatient. If they're honking, they're wanting to get somewhere quickly. Loud, angry. Now this is personification. Personification is when we give something that is not human, human qualities. A car itself cannot be angry. It doesn't get that. It doesn't have emotions. It doesn't have feelings. But when it's honking, it sounds angry. Now, obviously, it's the person driving it that's probably angry and doing the honking and got a bit of road rage. But we can describe the car as being angry, which is personification. So we're giving it human qualities that it doesn't have. The sirens are whirring, blasting. So they're important, they're emergency, they're deafening. They certainly got deafening towards the last of them. Trains, zooming, rumbling and screeching. So I've got to describe them as fast, deafening as well. Thundering, I quite like the idea of them thundering down the tracks. Bikes, bell ringing, they're quite squeaky noise, happy, tinny noise, kind of a ding, ding, ding noise, isn't it? And birds, we said tweeting, calling and singing, tuneful and high-pitched. Okay, so expanded noun phrases for bronze. Let's put those back in. So remember from yesterday, we used two adjectives to describe the noun in our sentence. So I'm going to choose the cars for this one. So the loud and impatient cars beep angrily in the street. So what I would like you to do for bronze, and I'd like everybody to have a go at this, I'd like you to write me at least one sentence. If you've got time to do 2 or 3, that would be wonderful. And I would like you to describe one of these things or something else that you wrote down using 2 adjectives. You are welcome to use 2 of my adjectives. That's absolutely fine. But I'd like you to put together a sentence that describes one of these nouns, cars, trains, sirens, bikes, birds, or something that you had. And I'd like you to put 2 adjectives into the sentence to describe them. You can use exactly the format that I've used. If you're really struggling, feel free to use my sentence, but I'd like you to change loud and impatient. Okay, see if you can use a different word for those. Okay, so feel free to use a thesaurus to help you find a different word for those, and maybe see if you can change cars as well. Okay, so pause while you do this and then press play when you're ready. Okay, similes for bronze as well. So a simile is where we describe something as being like something else. So we use one of 2 key words in a simile, as or like. So it tweets like a bird, or it's as bright as the sun. Okay, so it's saying it's like it. It's not saying that it is the sun. It's saying that it is as bright as the sun, or it is like the sun. So we'd be talking about a light or something like that, something nice and bright. So here are our nouns and adjectives. So we compare it to something else using as or like. My top tip is make a sensible comparison. Okay, so here are 2 different choices. Which one do you think is the sensible choice? Trains roar like thunder as they rumble down their tracks. Trains roar like lions rumbling down their tracks. So which one do you think is the sensible option? Hopefully you're thinking the first one. The second one, lions do roar, but they don't rumble down tracks. So it doesn't, not that thunder rumbles down a track, but it does rumble. A lion doesn't rumble, and it's not really comparative to a train. There's just, you know, a lion is a roar, and it is a loud roar, but it's not as big as a train. It doesn't have that same oomph as a train, whereas thunder is big, it's loud, it's more of a similar comparison to a train. Okay, so what I'd like you to do, I'd like you to pause here, and I'd like you to have a go at writing me a simile. So I've done the trains. You could do the sirens and their whirring, what they sound, they whir like something, they blast like something, or the cars honk like something. You can do the cars again if you want to. And the birds singing like, what does something else that sings? So you could do, or you could do something else that you heard. Okay, so comparing something to something else. So you're the bird, excuse me, flying over the city, and you're comparing what you can hear to something else. Okay, so you might compare the birds to singing like an opera singer. Okay, because birds aren't opera singers, are they? Singing like opera singers, and you've got a bit of personification there as well. Okay, so pause and have a go. If you've taken an hour to do those sentences, the bronze, you can stop. If not, let's give silver a go. So personification for silver. So we're giving something human characteristics, so something that isn't human, we're making it sound like it's got something about it that's human. So cars shouting at each other as they barge down the dirty roads. So the cars aren't shouting at each other because cars don't shout, but we could say that the honking is a bit like shouting. So we've almost got a metaphor here as well. So they're not shouting, but it sounds like they're shouting when they're honking. So I've pretty much just changed the word honking for shouting. I've made it sound like it is something that's human. Okay, so have a think, what else here could you make sound, give something a human quality? Okay, so something that a human does that doesn't really do. Okay, it's quite a tricky one. See if you can do it for me. Okay, if you find it too hard to do your own one totally, take my one, but maybe change the word shouting. You could change it to yelling, screaming, so something that a human does. So if you do find that tricky, you can do that. Or even better, you could put that for the sirens or for the trains, couldn't you? You could change that one and change it so it's not cars, the sirens or the trains are screaming or yelling or something like that. Feel free to use the thesaurus to make it even better. If you've still got time, I'd love for you to give gold a go. So pause if you haven't done silver. If you've got time, press play and we'll go to gold. So metaphor for gold. This is really tricky. Here we go. So this is very similar to simile, but this is where we say that something is something else, not it's like something else, it is something else. So for example, the sun is an orange ball in the sky. It's not an orange ball in the sky, it's a ball of plasma and gas, and it's, you know, very, very hot. But we could say it's an orange ball in the sky because that's sort of what it looks like, okay, or a yellow ball, you can decide. But so a simile would say that it is like an orange or a yellow ball in the sky, but a metaphor says that it is. Okay, so let's have a go and see if we can write our own. So here I've got well, actually, see if you can guess what I've got here. The black mamba weaves down the track in search of its prey. Which one do you think I've described here? Have I described a car, the sirens, the trains, the bikes, or the birds? Which one is most like a black mamba? And if you don't know what a black mamba is, it's a snake. Weaving down the track in search of its prey. Okay, so I'm talking about a train. Okay, so I'm comparing it to a snake. I'm saying it's like a snake, but I'm not saying it's like a snake. I'm saying it is a snake, which obviously it isn't. So this is a metaphor. So it's going in search of its prey. Now, obviously it's not going in search of its prey because it's not really a snake. It's going in search of the next station, but it gives a really good picture in my reader's mind. Okay, so I'd like you to have a go and see if you can write a metaphor for one of these things. If you're stuck for your own ideas, which is absolutely fine because this is quite tricky, tweak mine by changing the underlined parts. Okay, see if you can change them. So maybe change it to something else that's a bit like a snake, maybe. Maybe don't compare the train to a worm, that wouldn't be particularly impressive. And maybe why else might it be weaving its way down the track? So just try and change some of mine if you find that tricky, because well done for getting to gold. Okay, I really look forward to seeing your expanded noun phrases, similes, personification and metaphors. Well done, can't wait to see them.